Fans of world-class fast, the wait is over. DH Racing is back. Crankworx Round 1 is on. The world's fastest mountain bikers have made the annual pilgrimage to Skyline Rotorua to make their offerings to the gods of speed. Last year, Kiwi King of Crankworx Sam Blankensop kept it clean in filthy conditions to take the W. Can he keep the good times rolling in 2019? In the women's field, Australian Tracy Hanna is looking for some Rotorua redemption after a crash here in 2018 prevented the Crankworx downhill champ from even taking the start. The Crankworx Rotorua downhill presented by the professionals returns to the mountain bike mecca of the North Island. Expect roost, a rad racetrack, and some good times.
Race fans, it's time for some downhill action out here, our second broadcast day of our first stop on the Crankworx World Tour for 2019. Of course, that means we're in beautiful Rotorua, New Zealand. I'm your host, Cam McCall, alongside downhill racing specialist Andrew Needling. And Andrew, not as much mud as we had last year, so we're going to see dust where we had mud before, and we're going to see this guy returning, see if he can make it 2 in a row.
We are. Sam Blankensop, our reigning championship winner here. We're going to see him dropping last, so we're going to have a lot of anticipation to see if he can back up all his great results from last year. He had 2 wins here, Cam, in the Redwoods downhill and the Rotorua downhill. He went on to have some great consistent results and another podium to take that overall title.
Yeah, last season, this event just catapulted his whole year. It was amazing. He wasn't somebody that the entire world was talking about as a potential champion for the King of Crankworx, but he won those races here that you were just speaking about, and then he followed the entire tour and just continued earning those points. He ended up being the King of Crankworx in 2018.
Yeah, unbelievable performance. He even came to some events on his own bat, so it was great to see that. Consistency really paid off for him.
So we all love becoming a part of the action, and this year Crankworx has partnered with Pink Bike to bring you the fantasy competition. So we've all been signing up, building our teams, and take a look at Andrew's team right here.
Yeah, so I've gone with Via Verbeek. She's currently leading our Queen of Crankworx. Finn Isles, his second year in Elite. I'm looking for him to do some good things. And people like Dean Lucas on a new bike. Brooke McDonald, I know he's going to be a powerhouse this season.
So big prizes up for grabs for the racers, but also for you fans out there. So we still have a couple more events. We got Pump Track tonight, Slopestyle tomorrow. So if you missed building your team for downhill, get on Pink Bike and build your team up. But let's talk about the women's field. Of course, a lot of competition there, and we talked about the King Crown up for grabs for the men, but the Queen Crown for the women. There's a lot of stuff already developing so far this event. But Tracy Hanna, she took the overall last year, and she's looking fresh already, Andrew.
And she did that without actually competing here in Rotorua, but she would go on in Innsbruck and bounce back from knocking herself out with a concussion here. She would take the win in Innsbruck, and again, someone like Sam Blankensop, she was consistent. She got on the podium time and time again to take that title.
Yeah, it's crazy to see her take that overall despite missing the first event. Basically the opposite of how Sam Blankensop's season started. So she had to really fight from behind, throw it all on the line there in Leger. You see her flying off of that takeoff there. That was a quick track. But this one right here, this course, this is somewhat of a legendary race course. Has a lot of history, doesn't it?
That it does. We came back in the 2000s to race world champs here. It's a very similar layout. So some of those riders, it's got a lot of history. It's kind of like some of the old World Cup tracks that people love going to. This is a real iconic track of the world.
Well, there we go. A lot of action coming your way right now. The Crankworx Rotorua downhill presented by the professionals. And we're going to see the top racers. Of course, they've been coming down the hill, practicing all week, and it's been so dry and dusty. We've seen so many riders just covered in dirt in the pits, and we know that means we're going to have a lot of action for the race today. Closer to the action than we is Michaela Gatto. Let's send it down to her for an update.
Here she comes,
So I'm at the bottom of the downhill course. As you can see, it's super dusty. The course is steep. It's got some big holes. And I was actually talking to Mick Hanna a little bit earlier about how he manages that and what he does to his bike to get through it. Now, he told me the number one thing you want to look out for and adjust on for this course on your bike is the front suspension. You want to keep the front end nice and high, which means more air pressure in the front suspension so that you're not diving into those holes and kind of losing control as you're going down the steep sections.
Thanks, Michaela. Yeah, this is the first event of the season for a lot of these riders, but if you're living down here in the Southern Hemisphere, Australians, New Zealanders, they've been racing already. One of the guys who actually won a race recently right here in Rotorua, Brooke McDonald, we strapped a camera to his head to give you an up-close perspective of what this track looks like. Take a look.
Yo, what up guys? I'm Brooke McDonald. I'm going to take you down the GoPro course preview for the 2019 Crankworx DH course.
Man, not a lot of room for error on that track right there. Some of that POV perspective where he was threading the needle between the trees, a lot of opportunity to either make up a ton of time, or if you smash one of those trees, that's game over.
No, that'll be run done. It is a great true test of all-round bike handling skills, this course.
So why are we here right now? Well, because at home for me, anyways, it's full of snow. We're in the Southern Hemisphere right now. We're just at the end of summer. This is what it looks like from Mars, but if you zoom right in, you see in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, those two beautiful islands, the country of New Zealand. We're on the North Island, the city of Rotorua, New Zealand. A great place to come as a tourist for all the geothermal activity. Nice hot springs, bubbling mud as they call it. Looks like the first prototype of a bidet right there. But a great place to come if you're a mountain biker or a tourist. Really friendly people out here, and it's great that they've welcomed us here the last 5 years to enjoy their beautiful country. And as a tribute to their culture, we have these amazing wooden carvings at the top and bottom of every single race course. For more on these Waharoas, check this out.
Of course, Aotearoa New Zealand is uniquely Māori in origin, and it's our indigeneity and our culture. Once visitor numbers got to hearing about these wonders of the world, of course more visitors tended to come, and of course access to these wonders required relationships with the locals. And so these relationships and the custom and practice became as important as the destination. All the artworks at the Crankworx venue have come from here, and they're now being repurposed specifically for Crankworx. And we'll theme the Crankworx venue one of those. They have a tendency to call it a waharoa. A waharoa takes its name from having an entrance where you can walk through the mouth. Crankworx is another version of a modern addition to improving the economy of this rohe and the people in it. So Māori indirectly, we get to still practice those customs and practices that are important to us. The welcoming ceremony, having everybody feel like they've arrived, and at the same time show them our place.
Yeah, we feel fortunate to be welcomed here every single year. It's great that they welcome us with open arms, but today it's all about competition. It's all about the Crankworx Rotorua Downhill presented by the professionals. And we have the women's professional category coming up right after the break. Make sure you don't go away. plenty of top riders to come. Who you got your eyes on?
We've got such a stacked field. I like the likes of Tone Seagrove, we will see dropping last, Tracy Hanna, and then in the men, I think Loic Bruni is ever focused this year.
So, if you're a race fan and you just can't wait for the season to start, that's why you tune in for Crankworx Rotorua. Downhill racing in March. Could you get any better than that? The Crankworx Rotorua Downhill, presented by the professionals, starts right now.
People always ask me, what's so good about Skyline Rotorua? Well, it's a little bit of the and it's a little bit of that. Most importantly, it's all about that whop, 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 whop.
SRAM, the power of bicycles. Well, it's race time here in Rotorua. Take a look at the Skyline gondola right there. The racers are not on that gondola because they start at the top of the mountain. They take a truck to get to the top. This track has way more vertical than the standard riding trails you can get to with the lift pass here. This is a racetrack that's only raced on once a year. That's what makes this day so special. Well, the women's category coming up right now. The Crankworx Rotorua Downhill, presented by the professionals, starts right now.
Your Kiwi absolutely flying here, pedaling through the air. What a run!
Jill Kittner, the queen of Crankworx.
The time has come. Crankworx Rotorua downhill presented by the professionals. Professional women action coming your way right now. The current time to beat, a 326.12 held by Kate Weatherly from New Zealand. And here's a look at who we have coming up, Andrew.
Yeah, we've got the likes of Via Verbeek, Casey Brown, Emily Siegenthaler. Let's not count out Tracy Hanna. She wasn't racing last year, and our reigning champ, Tane Seeger. But first to drop, Camilla Blanchet from Switzerland. So we've got a stacked field here in the women's category.
It's going to be really interesting watching Tracy Hanna race this course. She was unstoppable last year in the overall. Like you said at the top of the show, she had a concussion in practice last year, and that's why she didn't race. That's why you don't see her name on the results list from 2018. So she has a real opportunity to shake things up. But she's going to have to get past Tawny Seagrave, who won last year. And this is what she had to say. I mean, it must have been so tough for her to deal with that. She looks forward to Crankworx every single season, and then to get here with all the excitement and have a crash and a concussion. These days, with all we know about concussions, it's smart to bow out.
I think it's great. I've had a fair share myself. And Tracy Hanna, we know how hard she prepares for the season. She often goes to Queenstown for some preparation. So it's really disappointing to not be able to start. But this is a new year, new series, the Crankworx World Tour. It starts now for the downhill. And Tracy Hanna, being from Australia, we know how well she rides in the dust. It's kind of the rougher and more kind of dangerous it gets, the more she excels.
So for the last 2 years, it's almost like the conditions are a character in this equation. So much mud last year, and then this isn't perfectly manicured and watered. This has been a bit of a drought season for Rotorua, and as challenging as the mud was last year, I think the dust is going to present some similar challenges today.
Well, that it is, Cam. I mean, really, these conditions are tough. And what's great about this track, we're going to see Camille drop into her run now. The conditions of this track, what's great is they don't groom this track. They might build a jump or a lip or a landing here and there, but it's really left nice and rough and raw. And I think that's the key to building a downhill course these days. A lot of courses are going a little bit too man-made.
Yeah, nothing manicured about this track. This is pure to the heart of downhill. Back to the roots here. We get a look at the split time for Camille Balanche. She's behind that 326.12 from Kate Weatherly.
So she is coming off a 5th in the air downhill. Races a bunch of EWSs as well. She is an all-round rider from Switzerland on that Da Vinci. Taking a 3rd place, the European downhill champs last year. So focusing a little bit more energy on the downhill on the Crankworx World Tour. So opting to go around that jump is big. It's 40, 50 odd foot. Even the men are coming in there at full pace and still having to pull to make that jump. So that jump is a challenge to make for these women.
So Camille Balanche behind at the first split that we saw. Probably not going to threaten this time of Kate Weatherly. Now you see, dropping back another 4 seconds, that would probably suggest that Kate Weatherly jumped that jump instead of going around on that option on the rider's right.
So Camilla holding that high line. That is one of the trickiest lines on track here, and opting for the step up. That's a line not all women will take today. So that is really gutsy from her.
So Camilla Balanche through the finish line, not going to threaten that time of Kate Weatherly, but take a look at who we have on course right now. Via Verbeek, she's got the most points right now for that Queen of Crankworx. She's been racking them up. She's had 2 wins already in the last couple days. She looks to be on a heater. Can't wait to see that split time.
Yeah, high on confidence. Winning the Air DH just a day or 2 ago. She also won the slalom. This is great to see from Vi. So she's on a stormer. We've picked her up a little bit later than Camilla on the track here. We're waiting for some splits to go. Oh dear. Wow, Kate has had a great run to put that much time in to Via here. So Via making her way down here to the Schlutter section. Aboard that rocky mountain, opting for that low line. That'll be the race's fast line. There are a few options, which is great here in the lowest slopes of this Rotorua track. So Via, we have heard She's probably maybe playing it safe. She wants to rack up as many points as she can for that Queen of Crankworx overall title.
So Via slides into 4th right now, which we still have a handful of racers to go. Still an opportunity to earn some more points for that Queen tally. She's sitting right now 40 points ahead of 2nd place in the Queen of Crankworx total. But take a look, it looks like Casey Brown on course next.
Well, Casey Brown, our all-time favorite here for being an all-round rider. We see her in Whiphoff. We see her, she'll be doing the EWS come Sunday. We see her in all sorts of events. She did mention she hasn't had the best preparation for a race season per se. She's done a lot of filming, so those segments will come out later in the year. It's great to see that the women are getting included in these big film segments, Cap.
Yeah, we're actually, she's just so great in front of the camera. Did a trip with her a couple years ago. We dropped into Corbett's Couloir and Jackson Hole. We're going to Asia, the South Himalayas in a few weeks. She's game for anything, and she's also been on the podium here twice in her career. Once on 3rd place in 2017, another 3rd in 2016. You know, she'd love to get back onto that box. She's behind by 7.33 at the split, so a little bit closer to Kate Weatherly than our last 2 competitors. See if that's good enough for a top 3 as we stand so far.
Yeah, putting together a competitive run here, but Kate Weatherly has stomped a run here. She's ahead of some big name ladies here. Casey took a 2nd in the Redwoods downhill last year. So we know she's ever capable on the downhill. So bleeding a little bit more time. Wow, Kate was fast through that section there.
She must have hit that jump.
There's a good chance she hit that jump that will definitely draw back a lot of time compared to these ladies that are not doing that jump. So Casey Brown out of Canada aboard that Trek session. We know how well Casey can jump. So she opts, though, for the alternative line there. I'm not sure if she feels it's quicker or she wasn't feeling the step up. Slots into 4th position for Casey Brown. She's just always all smiles, isn't she? Doesn't matter what position she comes into.
Well, there we go, back to the top. Emily Siegenthaler dropping in. Let's see if she can threaten that time. Currently held by Kate Weatherly, the 3:26.12. The time to beat. Nobody even close so far.
No, can Emily get nearby? She's 2nd here last year, but that was in the mud. That would have played into her favor, being from Switzerland, being from Europe. We know how well they ride in the mud. What will it say? So she's back. She's 3.4 seconds back, and we haven't even got to that section with the jump. She looked a little bit late there on that off camber. So this is a little bit different to last year. The riders were coming down the rocks here last year. They're forced down into that wide line. You can see how dry, how dusty this track is getting. It's breaking up a lot. Every rider.
Siegenthaler 2nd place the last 2 years. So you know she's looking to bump up that last position to be on the top of that podium.
And it's going to be tough for her. She was 3.4 back at the first split. And it's seemingly that Kate was really fast in the lower 3rd of this track. So Emily Siegenthaler from Switzerland aboard that Pivot Cycles. 7.83, so everyone is losing time, at least 3 to 4 seconds in quite a small section, Cam.
Definitely hints at something tangible in terms of maybe a different line choice from Kate Weatherly, and being so far behind the split after that jump, she must have hit that jump.
So Emily, no slouch on the jumps either. She opts for the step up. What will the time bring us? So she loses some more time, but she does slot into 2nd place. Emily Siegenthaler from Switzerland at 3:34, and she's in 2nd position.
So it's got to be playing into the times here. Let's take a look at this gap jump. Now she's jumping this one, but here's the one that has an option to go around. Imagine how much time you save by jumping that thing, Andrew. Kate Weatherly must have.
It's a longer distance going around, as well as they have a step up, and it kind of goes up the hill, so they sap a bit of momentum there. But Emily, clean through the step up here. That's a big jump in its own right as well. So great visuals we have, Crankworx. Look how dry these conditions are, Cam. The course, I was saying, is breaking up. Every rider that comes down, it's moving dirt, growing those holes.
You got to imagine how much different the course is today compared to first day of practice after this track just sitting there for an entire year not being raced on.
To Emily Siegenthaler, she's guaranteed herself a medal. Sitting in second position with 2 ladies to come. Tracy Hanna, missing here last year, but she's our reigning series champion.
Oh, this is going to be good. If anybody can do it, it's going to be Tracy. And as we've seen, it's really going to come down to if she's going to hit that jump right there, because you see all these competitors drop back at the split when they take that option around the jump.
So Tracy Hanna,
she's
she is up, Cam. 3.79. That's testament to her experience. She's so good in these dry conditions. Clearly having some great preparation in Queenstown coming into the season here. She's motivated after missing this race last year. So Cam, what will she do? Is she going to opt for the big, long and low, the 50-footer?
Find out, yes!
Yes, she does, and she's got it clean, Cam. She's going to carry great speed up that hill. Let's see if she can maintain that lead. Almost 4 seconds in the lead here.
Well,
Tracy
considering,
Hanna.
wow, she's already ahead before hitting that option that all the other competitors we've seen so far decided to go around it. I would imagine she'd push up in her gap right now. Let's see.
Tracy Hanna
Yep.
from Australia. She has maintained and even pushed a little bit more. So she's made some time on Kate, 4 seconds. I feel she'll make some even more time down the bottom here. This is where Tracy excels. The faster and looser it gets. The lady from Australia. Yeah, that is the rider's high line. Wow, that was clean. This is fast. Look how fast she's going, Cam. Oh, so fast. She's running wide on that turn.
Tracy
That is your
Hanna
new leader.
through the line, improving her lead. 4.8 seconds ahead of second place. Tracy Hanna will be the woman to beat with one more racer to drop in here in our professional women's field. Let's take a look back at her run.
Wow, she'll breathe a sigh of relief. All that off-season training is paying off, committed through that jump. And this is where she excels. She holds that high line with ease and grace. And normally it pushes you wide, but she was easily maintaining the rider's line there. And this is where she was going so fast. But Tracy Hanna, she's done everything she can, Cam. She missed the race here last year. We know how motivated she is to start a season with a bang. She's into that hot seat. There's nothing more she can do at this stage.
Well, this is really shaping up for an exciting finish here. A guaranteed at least second place for Tracy Hanna right now. Going to start her season off on the right foot, but she's going to have to get past our next rider dropping in. She won here just a year ago. She has an opportunity to go back-to-back right now.
No choice.
Let's listen in.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
so the family affair, Mick Hanna, if possible, he's always at the finish to see how Tracy does. But what it also does is he gets to hear if there's any changes in the course conditions. So that family affair is really helpful to Mick.
Oh, here we go. Last rider dropping in for the professional women's field here at Crankworx Rotorua downhill, Tawny Seagrave.
Well, Tane is our reigning champion first last year in this race. It was muddy. Tane had such a great season last year, multiple World Cup wins. But I spoke to her. She's had quite a few crashes leading up to just the start of practice here. She even managed to crash in a parking lot on the tar
wow,
road.
look at the split.
And that's maybe what we're seeing. She said she's going to see how she feels, but she's pretty battered and bruised. You can see on her Instagram some of her stories. She's got roasties all over. She's probably a little bit sore, to be quite fair.
Tracy Hanna's time right now looking pretty comfortable as Tawny Seagrave considerably back at the first split. She is going for that big gap jump. That's going to help, but Tracy Hanna was so quick toward the bottom. She didn't really leave a lot of opportunity for seconds to be picked up here for Tawny Seagrave.
No, we were chatting. I mean, a healthy Tracy, a happy Tracy is so fast. Like we said, her preparation has clearly gone well. Tawny Seagrave, her preparation not going so well. She had multiple crashes from what we know, just practicing, goofing around even. So maybe she's just taking a little bit of a cautious seat back here. She doesn't want to risk anything if she's not feeling 100%.
Well, now the big question is, will Tawny Seagrave slide into second or third place here? She's not going to be able to threaten that time currently held by Tracy Hanna, but we're about ready to find out where she'll finish.
So redemption here for Tracy Hanna, missing last year. She will take the win. Tane Seagrave slotting into third. 8.45 seconds back. There you have it, our winner, Tracy Hanna. Round one of our Crankworx stop here.
Wow, great to see after how difficult her season started last year. Let's send it down to Michaela.
All right, give me a hug. Aw. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, so you were the reigning world champ for the Crankworx series last year, but you didn't compete here last year because of a concussion.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say you were out for some redemption today?
Yeah, I was pretty stressed coming into like the first race of this year. I completely revamped my training program and, you know, trying something new, and my coach is trying something new, and I was crapping my pants, to be honest, but pretty stoked pretty happy that I could, I felt super strong, and I felt like I could have kept going. Normally I like the short tracks, but felt really good, so I'm really happy.
Well, you did amazing, and I'm sorry to say, you're not a big person. So how the heck do you hang on in some of those massive holes? Because I have no idea.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I know last year I wasn't strong enough, and I pretty much spent the whole winter in the gym, and you know, you got to be careful because you have to be specific about what you're working out, and I feel strong, I feel amazing, and it showed today. I'm super stoked with that.
Well, that's amazing. Congratulations, gold medal today. My good buddy, back to you, Cam.
Thanks, Michaela. Great to see. I mean, we were all rooting for her last season. It was great to see that she was able to salvage after starting out so rough. But like Michaela said, a little bit of redemption. You saw that quote from her at the beginning of the show, how disappointed she was to not be able to race this, and to come back a year later and win it. It's great to see.
Yeah, testament to that preparation. I know how hard she works, former teammate with her. So that's great. You know, you could hear a little bit of doubt as to the preparation was going to pay off. But I mean, that is amazing. Look at that time gap, 3:21.32, a clear 4, almost 5 seconds ahead of second place. And Tane Seagrave down in third place, 8 seconds back.
Always stories within stories here at Crankworx. You saw Via Verbeek down there in 8th place. She'll take away 32 points to add to the 200 she already has to extend her lead in the Queen Hunt. But that was the pro women's field. Of course, that means we have the pro men coming up next. Crankworx Rotorua Downhill presented by the professionals. Men's class coming up next.
If these lands could speak, what would they say? They would invite you in to share this extraordinary part of the world. Because what you'll find down here, what you'll discover, is that you're welcome here.
For over 100 years, Professionals Real Estate Rotorua have been helping people buy and sell property in our beautiful city. Make your real estate and mountain biking dreams a reality with Rotorua's #1 team.
Maxxis, New Zealand's tire of choice. Take a look at this city, Rotorua, New Zealand. Watching that real estate agent double flip into that lake made me feel like we were so lucky to be welcomed here every year and to have a real estate company be the title sponsor of this downhill race. They're really getting behind this sport. And if this is the type of spot you think you want to visit, make sure you plan a trip out here. We've been making a habit out of it for the last 5 years, and we'd have it no other way. Like we talked about before, there's always these little battles here at Crankworx, but it all plays into the big war, which is the king and queen of Crankworx title hunt. What is that? Well, this season, it's a 3-stop series. Rotorua, New Zealand, Innsbruck, Austria, and Whistler, British Columbia. Every single event has valuable points up for grabs. Of course, first place taking 100 points for the downhill today. We give points all the way down to 30th place. And the athlete who's able to compete in the most events and gather the most points will be the king. Sam Blankensop was the king last year. Jill Kittner was the queen. And our current leader for the queen, as it stands right now, is hanging out with Michaela Gatto. Michaela?
Thanks, Cam. Yeah, I'm here with current queen leader, Via Verbeek. How's it going today?
It's going well, actually. I'm still in one piece. Finished a downhill, which was a big piece. And then we still got pump track to go, but overall, great.
Yeah, we were talking a couple days ago when you were practicing, and you were opting out of going on some of the bigger lines, the more risky jumps. You broke your collarbone here last year. What was your mental strategy going into today?
Yeah, it's definitely not the sweetest feeling to go into a downhill race, not trying to be the best you can be, but it's kind of just what I had to do this week to get through. It's the first time I've gone through every event. I signed up for all of them, gone through all of them. I mean, there's pump track tonight, but yeah, so I definitely opted out of the one where I broke up my collarbone last year and still got to do whip off last night and downhill today and pump track tonight, so it's a really good thing.
So it's safe to say your strategy this year is less on winning an overall championship in, say, downhill, but focusing more on the overall Queen of Crankworx title.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely focusing on getting the most points on the disciplines where I'm best at, and downhill takes a beat on your body, so after a week like that, I can't put as much pressure on that event.
Well, still got pump track tonight, and from your track record this week, I'd say you're in the running for maybe a top spot. Fingers crossed. Oh, the confidence, the subtle confidence, I love it. So we're going to be sticking around for tonight, watching you take on the pump track. Good job for staying in one piece today.
Yay, thank you.
Thanks, Michaela. So fun to watch just because there's so much going on, so much so that it's hard to keep track of it all sometimes. But to help you out, Via Verbeek's 8th place in the downhill race will give her 32 extra points to add to the 200 she already had from earlier on in the week. So she extends that lead right there. And second place was Annika Beerten before this race. So we'll get the crew to crunch the numbers, and there they are right now. 232 points for Via Verbeek, extending that lead. Kate Weatherly, though, bumping her name up into 3rd place. Tawny Seagrave going into 4th. But take a look, Tracy Hanna wins the event. But since she hasn't been competing in other events grabbing those points, she's sitting down there at least putting her name on the leaderboard, but still a long way to go for her. But there's a long season still to come.
That there is, and we saw it with Sam Blankensop last year. He basically only did downhill events and was able to win it.
All right, finals for the men coming up next. Take a look at who we have at the top of this course, gearing up, testing tire pressure, visualizing the course. We're going to see riders like Francisco Pardal, Chaos Seagrave. You just saw his sister, Tawny. Brendan Fairclough. I know one of your favorite riders. Who else are you looking at here?
Yeah,
Mick Hanna?
Unfortunately, Brendan has suffered a little injury to his finger, as well as Stanislav. So there are a few guys that we might not see. But Connor Fearon is always great to see. Brooke McDonald was on a tear last season. New team, new bike. He's got a little bit more time on that. Laurie Greenan also spends a lot of time in Queenstown in New Zealand. And then Loic Bruni, the ever-focused Loic Bruni, our current world champion. And last but not least, Sam Blankensop, our reigning champ from the series and here in Rotorua last year in the mud.
Well, really exciting development here for 2019 Crankworx Rotorua is the Enduro race is a part of the Enduro World Series. So we have Rick McLaughlin up here to tell us a little bit more about that. We're excited to have you guys. And what was the decision-making process figuring out if this was going to be an EWS stop?
Well, we were here in 2017, and we had such a, we've been here before in the past as well, and the trails here in the Redwoods, it's just so good. I mean, it's made for enduro bikes and modern bikes, and it produces racing that's too good not to come back here, really.
So do you think the riders who are following this EWS circuit have a bit of an advantage when it comes to something like the King and Queen of Crankworx overall, because you have to be so fit for that form of racing? Does that apply to all these other disciplines?
Definitely, but at the same time, I mean, enduro is all about compromise. You've just got to be so on it in every department, and one little niggle at the pump track or one little injury here or there can make all the difference, you know.
So one guy we've been talking about.
Exactly, it's Keegan Wright. We wanted to both speak about him. It's nice to see that the EWS comes. We get to see those athletes in air downhill or doing pump track, and Keegan Wright's one of them. We're going to see him in downhill. We saw him win the slalom. He might even win the pump track, so that's pretty great to see.
He's fired up to be here. I spoke to his teammate Damien Otton, world number 2, who's actually missing this race with an injured hand. And he said he can't believe how fast Keegan is riding this weekend. He tried to keep up with him and couldn't do it earlier in the week. So yeah, testament to the all-round riding skill it takes to ride in EWS as well as our Crankworx events. So yeah, I think thanks for coming. It's great to see the EWS here. It's lovely to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great.
No, I think we're going to have you stick around. We like your knowledge from EWS. Why don't you stick around? We maybe I'll hang out with you, Needles. I'll hang out with you. That's fine.
So do you get a lot of riding in here when you're here for the event? I'm sure you have a lot of work to do as well, but do you get out and try all the stages?
We do the course preview, which is yesterday, so I have to sort of try and hang on to the back of Chris Ball, who I'm sure you raced against in your day. No easy feat.
Well, I'm not that old, but yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, no, we've been riding it quite a bit here, and the trails are amazing, but so tough. But they're not, in some parts, not the steepest, but just so rooty and technical. Carrying your speed throughout them is really difficult.
Yeah, the terrain here is amazing, and this course is going to offer up so much amazing race action. Take a look at who's currently sitting in the hot seat for the men's category. We're going to drop the top 20, but before we pick up this broadcast, George Brannigan dropped in and set a scorcher of a time. And if you know anything about this guy, you know he has a long history with this track as well, Andrew.
Yeah, George Brannigan, the poor guy. He was on a new team last year, hopped onto GT bicycles, but he barely got a season together because he kept getting injured. So that's great to see him healthy and firing down a huge run there.
All right, first rider dropping in right now. We've got our cameras locked on Portugal's Francisco Pardal. He's going to try to knock George Brannigan out of that hot seat, but he's going to have his work cut out for him.
It's our 2018 European downhill champion. Hometown loser in Portugal. It's a great place. That's interesting. I was hearing rumors that you weren't allowed to touch those rocks. You were meant to go down to the berm. We'll have to wait for some confirmation on that, but that is the fast line if you're allowed to take it. So hopefully no controversy coming from that.
I love the choice in gear here on a day this dry, loose, and dusty. Just go white everything.
Yeah, so Pardal, he is a fan favorite. He's wild on the bike, good to watch. That's an interesting wide line there. I'm not sure we're going to see many other riders take that, but what he's able to do is he can brake less coming off that bridge, so he's hoping to carry more speed going on that wider outside line there.
So Brannigan currently sitting in that hot seat with a 2:53. Pardal about 7 seconds back right now as he experiences a little bit of trouble, losing some traction there, but holds on to this final stretch.
So Pardal chasing hard here to the finish, up over that hip. There's a few different lines into the finish that I think we're going to maybe see. Someone like Brooke McDonald might jump out of that berm.
So George Brannigan still hanging out in that hot seat. Pardal not knocking him out. Now we got to hear a little bit more from George Brannigan, find out how smooth his run is. So to do that, let's send it down to Michaela.
Okay, George, you've been injured for the last year, is that correct?
Yeah, basically all of 2018 I was injured, and yeah, I've spent the last like half a year rehabbing and getting strong again, so yeah.
Well, it seems to be working. You're sitting in the hot seat now. How does that feel?
Feels good. I mean, I've done a bunch of other races in New Zealand, just been trying to slowly build back up and learn how to go fast again, so feeling pretty good now. Still got a while to go, but yeah, happy.
Well, congrats on the hot seat so far, and hopefully it sticks.
Hopefully.
Thanks, Michaela. Tough 2018 for George Brannigan, but sitting right where he wants to be right now in that Waharoa hot seat. But Bas van Steenbergen, the Canadian, dropping in right now, the man who's currently sitting at the top of the leaderboard for King of Crankworx points, looking to add some more points to his name right now.
That he is, third in the air DH. He is known a little bit more for his downhill skill set on the air downhill kind of thing. He's really, really good on the man-made tracks. He's a former winner of EDH in Whistler. He's also a former winner of EDH here in Rotorua, plus third this year. So look how fast he is over these jumps. Super powerhouse on the pedals as well. So the smoother it is and the faster it is, the more speed he's able to carry.
Looking forward to seeing the split for Bas van Steenbergen right now to see if he's close to the time of 2:53, currently held by George Brannigan. But I can watch this guy ride all day.
Yeah, he is effortless with his style.
Gosh.
Really efficient on the bike as well, not wasting too much energy. This is such a great section of downhill. You can see how rough it is. And that's a knife edge to navigate that off-camber section there, Cam.
Look at this. Of course he's in the middle of a race run, but he eyed up that cameraman, whipped it out. Let's see what the time is through the finish line right now. Bas van Steenbergen, what will the story be? George Brannigan had a 2:53. Bas van Steenbergen through with a 3:13, so that's only going to be good enough for 18th. Now we've got close to, I think, 17 racers left, and we award points for the top 30 for that King standing, so we're going to have to wait and see if he collects some more today. But Elliot Jackson, a man who has been on the podium here before, just a couple years ago, 2017, he took a third.
So Elliot Jackson, a fan favorite of us here in the booth. You can hear those fans at the top of the track. One of the funnest riders on the circuit. Great jumper. So holding that tight line over the rocks there. Elliot Jackson out of USA. Time ticking away. 2:09 and change. So that long and low jump. Opting for the speed tuck. He feels he's up to enough speed there instead of pedaling. Cam, we spoke about it a bunch. Once you get over 50 or 40, 50k an hour, it's often way more efficient and faster just to tuck instead of wasting energy and standing up and pedaling, because your body position is obviously wind resistance.
And it takes the knowledge to actually, the wisdom to actually know that, because you would think, all right, let me just struggle to go faster, but you see the veteran mindset of Elliot Jackson. He's touched this podium before. He knows what it takes. He wants to do it again, and look at this time. It's going to be close as he nears the finish line.
Yeah,
Here we
he's
go.
third in 2017. He's been second in 2015. What can he do this year? Slots into second place, Cam, with 4.56 seconds back. There are a lot of heavy hitters still to come.
Great run for Elliot Jackson. Of course, a smile on the face of George Brannigan. He looks comfortable in that hot seat. He doesn't want to have to hop out anytime soon.
So tired. So tired.
It's great to see Elliot Jackson back racing. You know, a couple years he had to take some time off for some health issues, but anytime he's back on course, he's a fan favorite, he's a showman, and always a contender.
So let's take a look here. He's really baking heavily at the top of this bridge. We'll see if they pull the next view in. They didn't, and that's where he went down that tight rock line. Rick, we're losing a few downhillers to EWS, the likes of Sam Hill, probably one of the most famous downhillers ever to live, one of the most skilled guys on the bikes. But I think it's testament to the EWS riders. A lot of people say it's where downhillers go to die, but I actually disagree now. I think it's just a way that a rider decides when he's young what category he's going to ride. Is he going to XC, is he going to downhill, or is he going to EWS? So a testament to the series. They are amazing all-round bike handlers.
Oh, we're definitely seeing it now with riders like Adrian Day. Young guys aren't coming through as specific enduro racers, tried and tested, and that's what they train for. And it's a lot of information to take away with limited practice as well. You know, it's a very specific skill set.
It is very unique, and I think from what I'm hearing, you're limiting the guys to one run per stage at most of the events, or all of them?
Most of them, yeah.
I think that's a great tactic to do, because sometimes the fitter the rider is or some hometown advantage could help them, but this evens the playing field, and it's the unique thing to EWS. It's more about kind of blind racing and making it up as you go along.
Well, enduro is really, like, at its heart, a real test of mountain biking. You've got to be able to not only race with that limited practice, but you've also got to be able to fix your bike, stay mentally and physically healthy throughout the day, pace yourself. It's It's a really specific thing.
Yeah, that it is.
Well, it's cool to see it evolve as well, because it's not just a one-way valve anymore. You see it feeding both directions. Guys like Martin Mays dropping into downhill, winning World Cup races, even though everybody would look at him and say, oh, that's an enduro guy.
Yeah.
So it's great to see your discipline really coming into its own, and always something that's going to play into the story with Crankworx World Tour, where the name of the game for King and Queen is diversity. Take a look at our standings right now. Crankworx Rotorua downhill presented by the professionals. That man right there leading the charge, the 253.
How long do you have?
George Brannigan. If you're going to want to win this race, you're going to have to knock the Kiwi off of that hot seat. But speaking of King and Queen, you hear us talk about it. This is what it is. 3 stops. We start out Rotorua, New Zealand, of course, Innsbruck, Austria, then Crankworx Whistler. $20,000 to the King and to the Queen, but it doesn't stop there. You know, if you get 3rd place, $5,000. So every point matters out here, and $10,000 for 2nd place. So that's why you see some of these riders that aren't on the podium. Still, there's a huge story going on, because points awarded all the way to 30th place here today in this race. Seeing a lot of riders coming from specific backgrounds like enduro or downhill, but coming to these Crankworx stops and deciding to sign up for some of these events that you would not expect them to. Racers doing speed and style, slopestyle guys doing pump track. A lot of points up for grabs here in today's downhill race. We just saw Elliot Jackson through the line, sliding into 2nd place. Sam Robbie will be the next rider to drop. And then after that, a guy you know a little bit about, Kirk, Keegan Wright.
Yeah.
George Brannigan, he's got to just be very relieved sitting there, number 1, healthy. I think that's key for George Brannigan to build a season and not come out too hot. But that's a storming time. He didn't have anything last year. He was on a new bike, so that's great to see him.
So receiving word in my ear right now, Keegan Wright will actually be the next rider we see drop in. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to pick up some of those valuable points. He's also competing in pump track later on tonight, so you're not going to want to miss that. But here we go, out of the gate from New Zealand, Keegan Wright.
Well, that's Keegan Wright, not to be mistaken for Blanky with no gloves there. Currently 3rd in our King of Crankworx. What an all-round rider. Relatively unknown before we started seeing at some of these Crankworx events. Wow, if that is correct, I am blown away if that's 12 seconds up. Well, he is a local boy. He is from New Zealand, so he must know these conditions. 12 seconds, my word.
I mean, yeah, he's a local boy, so that makes sense. But 12 seconds ahead of George Brannigan, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, 1st place in slalom, clearly carrying some confidence from that. But I mean, he would have been out this morning practicing EWS as well. I spoke to Blanky here to do the same. So that shows you how fit he is.
He was actually the 2nd rider on stage this morning. That's how keen he was to get that out of the way.
Yeah, he's definitely keen, but I have a feeling that split might not be correct. So let's see if they recalibrate that split. Let's not get too excited, but he is carrying great pace. So George Brannigan, he stopped the split. There you go. Okay, it's been recalibrated. We got a little bit excited there. 6 seconds back. So there's no ways he lost that much time while staying on the bike. But Keegan Wright, 1st in pump track here in Rotorua like 2 years back. He really just burst onto the scene here. We've seen him at Crankworx, and he's doing great in EWS.
So Keegan Wright not going to knock George Brannigan out of that hot seat, but he will knock Elliot Jackson out of 2nd place. George Brannigan dodges another bullet.
So that's great points. If he can hang on to a top 10 or something like that, or maybe even better, a top 5, take some points for the King of Crankworx. Now he needs to go get some food. He needs to get up those feet because he's got a long day of practice tomorrow, and then it's a 1-day race on Sunday, correct?
Big day, yeah. It's 60k total when you take the shuttle into it as well.
Did you say 60Ks?
Yeah, 48 riding.
48 riding. I'm going to be on a plane home, thank goodness. That sounds tiring.
Rick, thank you so much. We're a big
problem,
fan of
guys.
everything
Thanks
you stand
very much
for,
for
and we're going to be excited to follow the stage results on Sunday. Just make sure if you're an Enduro World Series fan, you follow all the action on Sunday. Big thanks to Rick for putting on a great series of events and for joining us here in Rotorua. But back to racing right now, Andrew.
Alex Viola, the story here. He burst on the scene with a win at the World Cup in a rain-soaked race. Now, the problem with that is you just start building a lot of expectations, a lot of pressures from sponsors, from yourself to back that up. He put in a storming run there. Let's not take anything away from that race. But since then, it's been tough for him to back up the results. But I saw him in practice, and he was one of the early guys doing a lot of the gaps. When it gets steep, when it gets technical, this guy excels. And I think with experience, he's going to build a race head, and he's going to build fitness, and he's going to get better and better.
Looking forward to getting a peek at that split time here.
So look at these conditions, dry and dusty. We are waiting for a split.
Imagine it's going to be pretty good. Take a look. He's sitting at 2:14 right now, within sight of the finish line.
Oh, he's carrying huge pace. Look how fast he's going. Polar opposite to the conditions he won in Lords. Rain-soaked Lords. This is dry. This is dusty. What will the time tell us?
Oh, this could be huge. Through the line. Oh, so close. Through the line with a 2:56, only about 3 seconds back, sliding into second place. So they're getting closer to George Brannigan, but nobody's done it yet.
So lots of great riders to come, but George Brannigan can breathe another sigh of relief. He's ticked off one rider there, Alex Fiolo. So Brannigan, as you see in our leaderboard, he sits on top, 253.24, Fiolo 256.03. And Elliot Jackson rounds it out in third.
Well, back up to the top here. Jackson Frew in the gate. Does he have what it takes to knock George Brannigan off that hot seat?
So new bike, new team. Last year, second in the US Open. He's only 20 years old. Last year, 10th here in the mud-soaked race of Rotorua. This, like we say, we're going to say it time and time again. It is dry, it is dusty, it is fast. So Jackson Frew opting for that wide line. You can break less off the bridge, but you are going to have to cover more distance dropping down to that berm cam, and there's less exit speed.
Jackson Frew from Australia, obviously no stranger to the dusty conditions we're experiencing here today in Rotorua. Looking forward to seeing that split time.
So they're holding that tight line off the bridge. Got to break up more, but you're covering a shorter distance of track. So he's 4 seconds back, Cam.
I don't think George Brannigan left 4.5 seconds to be found on this final straightaway. George Brannigan, he dropped in before our broadcast started, but I know just from years past, he does something very similar to that on that.
Yeah, the opposite whip into that hip. Normally, kicking out to your left would make sense, but these guys going for opposite. So slots into third position, 257.26. He'll be happy with that. It's a new team, new ride for him, getting used to that bike throughout the off-season. But it's so different practicing at home versus coming to a race, getting that clock on you. So that's great to get a clean run for him.
So one of our favorite riders on the start list, unfortunately not dropping in today. Let's find out why. Send it down to Michaela Gatto.
All right, Brendog, unfortunately you're on the wrong side of the tape today. What happened?
Yeah, unfortunately. I'm pretty gutted about it. I just had I was going to say a small crash in practice, but it was quite big. I think maybe a bit too excited, trying to get too into it. And over the bars in the section after the larches. You know, one of those ones where he carries on, and I just saw the tree in front of me and just whacked into it. And unfortunately, a small fracture in my knuckle, but a few weeks out, I'll be back.
Well, fortunate for us, you're standing here with me. I can ask you about the track. So run us through what the track looks like, any important pieces of noteworthy things like avoiding larches.
Staying on your bike, it's important. Avoiding going over the bars is important. But yeah, the track, it's quite a unique one. The weather here is a huge deal. Some tracks cope with rain, cope with dust, cope with sun, but this one changes so drastically from where we are now in a dust bit to previous years where we've had like a slip and slide down the hill. So this year it's a dust bit. It's really blown out. It's really fast. The track is ever changing the whole way. From the top, it's in an open paddock, all grass, doesn't really change too much. Then you dive into the trees. And luckily for the riders, there's a bit of cloud cover because you're in the sun the whole time, then you go into this dark woods. It's really hard to adjust, really. So now, a bit of cloud cover, I think for the top boys, it's going to be good conditions.
There's some rock gardens, some heavy holes.
Yeah, then we go and there's some built rock gardens, which I don't think is any rider's favourite thing, but you got to adjust to it and deal with it and avoid getting punches. So yeah, we've got rock gardens there, and you go into the bottom section, fast, open it back out into the open, good crowd, some good jumps, and slide into the finish.
And if you're Mick Hanna, suicide no-hander off the finish line jump, and away we go.
Yeah, I won't be doing that.
Well, thanks so much for chatting to us, and I guess we'll get back to racing.
Cool.
Thanks, Michaela. Unfortunately, not seeing Brendog out there today, but he showed us the x-ray. It's a small little fracture on the knuckle there, so he'll be back at it soon. It's still early on in the 2019 season. It's early on in this race. This is what things look like so far. George Brannigan dodging the bullets. That time of 2:53.24. The closest rider behind him, Alexander Fayol.
Yeah, and then rounding out in third with Jackson Frew. Elliot Jackson, nice to see him back. Yeah, an absolute bummer. We know how much riders like to start the season on a high. Speak to George Brannigan, kind of the opposite story there. George Brannigan, he stayed clean. We're going to look at his run here.
Great.
He was carrying huge speed here. But George Brannigan, one of the most exciting riders to watch when he stays on the bike. He's always fast, but he's quite kind of sporadic because sometimes he just pushes too hard, a little bit over his limit. But you know what? The fans at home love it, Cam.
He always does that, I swear. It's like a confidence thing right there. It's probably not faster to get so flashy on that hip, but the fans love it, and he knows that they're going to be cheering for him. They're going to be cheering for their Kiwi champion out here who's won on this course before. And right now, he's going to have a lot of riders to contend with if he's going to take the win out here today. But if anybody can do it, it's him. Closest rider behind him is still over 2 seconds back. But Stanislav Senau looks like he may be the next rider to drop in. Then he's going to have to deal with Bernard Kerr. Now, Bernard Kerr missed competing last year. He had a broken foot. He was up in the booth here with me, so it's great to see him on the bike this year, nice and healthy. This guy is not only a professional top-notch racer, but a team manager. I'm not sure how he does it all, but right now, dropping in.
No, he's got a unique skill set to be able to manage both those things. But Bernard Kerr, he's on a new bike. He's on a 29er pivot this year. Last year, due to that broken foot, he didn't have enough time to test the 29er, so he stuck to his 27 the whole year. So it'll be interesting to see how Bernard performs on a bike he's had time on now in the off-season. Like you said, he was injured last year. He had a storming season in 2017 till he crashed out at a Crankworx event. Then he had an off-season, but he came here with an injury, so he slowly built, and he actually had a great result at the end of 2018. So let's look for Bernard to carry on with that form that he had at the end of 2018. Here, 2019 Crankworx World Tour stop number 1. This is the Rotorua downhill.
This guy blows me away. The fact that he can not only be a team manager, a top-tier racer, but this guy's always got a smile on his face. He's always having a good time. He's not a boring, serious guy. He's out there ripping it up with everybody, and always a podium contender. So we're looking forward to seeing what that split time has to say right now.
We're looking for it to pop up now. It's gone by. We didn't get a reading from it. Bernard Kerr, podiums at Crankworx World Tours, podiums at World Cups, and somehow team managing. Wow, running a little bit late there.
Oh, he's got a bit of time to work with here. He's got to cross the finish line in the next second. It's not going to happen, but you got to know he's going to go into second place, 1.7 behind George Brannigan. So they're getting closer, George.
Yeah, it's going to start getting tense for George Brannigan sitting there in that hot seat. Yes, he's relieved to get a clean run, but he must be thinking, okay, cool. How high can I actually finish today? It's nice to get clean. It's nice to go fast. But you know what? I'm competitive. I want to go all the way to the finish because he's having to wait around for the likes of Loic Bruni, our current world champion of downhill. Bernard Kerr slotting into second place. Alex Viola still hanging around in third.
Well, the fastest racers yet to come. Can Sam Blankensop make it 2 years in a row here at the Crankworx Rotorua Downhill presented by the professionals? To find out, don't go away.
People always ask me, what's so good about Skyline Rotorua? Well, it's a little bit of that. And it's a little bit of that. Most importantly, it's all about that. Whop, 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 whop.
New Zealand, investing in world-class events. Skyline, once is never enough. We're back to racing here. Speaking of Skyline, that's exactly where we're hanging out, bringing you the action from Crankworx Rotorua Downhill, presented by the professionals on a legendary racetrack. And Andrew, there's a lot of really interesting options on the bottom part of the course, a really crowd-pleasing section, and it's kind of tough to make sense out of all the different ways the riders are choosing. And I'm going to ask you to take me to school. Can you break this down for me?
So Cam, let's have a look at Tracy Hanna here. I wanted to stop it there. So as you can see, she's come from this angle here, and what that does is if she makes a mistake, she's going to go out of tape here. And what we're going to show you after this is Keegan Wright's option, which is a bit safer. So that's Tracy Hanna. She's done the very high line. It's super tricky, but when done correct, it's the shortest distance to get down the hill. So that you can see, it is super narrow up on that bank. When done correct, it's great, but she has a very good chance of blowing out the tape on the rider's right. So well done by Tracy there. So this is another option. I want to stop it here, if you may. So as you can see, this is where Tracy came down, and she's aiming that way. Keegan's direction is more like this, which is a safer option. Okay guys, so there you can see. So Keegan Wright has opted for a safer option. He's doing a turn way earlier than Tracy, but he's straightening out the whole section. He's trying to carry maximum momentum into the step up. So he does his turn a little bit earlier than Tracy, and then he's straight, so he launches into the backside. So two different ways to ride one section depending on your riding style.
I love it. Thanks for the breakdown, Andrew Needling. And the rider who obviously chose the correct line is sitting in the hot seat, George Brannigan. He is no stranger to this final section. Viral video all over the internet of him winning a race here a couple years ago. And using that inside knowledge, applying it to this Crankworx Rotorua Downhill presented by the professionals race day here. Friday race in action, day 2 of broadcast. To kick off this 2019 season, George Brannigan on a heater of a run. Here's how he did it. He's sitting in the hot seat with that 2:53, and here's his line on that section you were just talking about.
Oh, so stylish coming into the finish there, George Brannigan. Said it time and time again, that is a storming run. He will be relieved, but how far can he go? Will he hang on to that hot seat all the way to the end?
Well, you know, every single time a rider rolls through that finish line corral and doesn't knock him out, he's got a big smile on his face, but a whole lot more racing to go. Another 10 riders and big names in that list. Guys like Connor Fearon, Brooke McDonald, Laurie Greenland, Loic Bruni, and last year's champion, Sam Blankensop. I know all the local fans here hoping that they'll see a Kiwi walk away with top honors today. They got a couple opportunities for that to happen. George Brannigan could do it, Sam Blankensop could do it. They're gonna have to get past some of the best in the world. Guys hailing from England like Laurie Greenland, French racers like Loic Bruni. A whole lot action, more to come here. The Crankworx Rotorua Downhill presented by the professionals. Top 10 from the men's category at the top of the course, getting ready to drop in. We get a look at Keegan Wright right now, hanging out with Brett Tippie. You'll see him later tonight at the pump track. He's looking to earn as many points as possible for that King of Crankworx overall series hunt. But back to racing, next rider in the gate. On course from Germany, Max Hartenstern. Does he have what it takes to knock out George Brannigan?
He may have that. He's been campaigning here in New Zealand. He's coming off a second at the New Zealand National Champs. Obviously, if he went one better and won it, he wouldn't be able to wear that jersey since he hails from Germany. A winner of an IXS European Cup at round 7 last year. We haven't seen him at a Crankworx event before from what we can tell. So Max making the long trip down here to New Zealand to do some off-season training and some racing. Kicking off his season here in Rotorua. So you can see that German sleeve on his left side of the body. A reigning German national champion.
So Max Hartenstern styling it out for the crowd here. But we're waiting to see that split time. George Brannigan was a 2:29 right there. See, he's got another 20 seconds to make it across that finish line to beat George Brannigan. But it's going to be quite far off. He's over 12 seconds back at this point. So not going to be Max Hartenstern's day here.
No, it's not. Wow! Somehow hanging on to that high line cam. That's the one we spoke about in race school. That is a tricky line to navigate. So Max Hartenstern, not going to be his day, into 15 positions, 12 seconds back. George Brannigan ticks off another rider. And there were 9 left, so he's guaranteed a top 10. Nice solid start to the season. I have a great feeling he's going to go at least top 5.
With each rider that drops in and doesn't knock him out, it makes us scratch our head with curiosity of how he's able to find so many seconds on this course to gap away from the field. But we just get tougher and tougher as we go through the lineup here. Next rider on course, Angel Suarez.
Angel's only had 1 day of practice here compared to the other riders of 2. Unfortunately, the airlines lost his bike on the way here. They scrambled together a spare bike, so he got 1 day of practice, and then this morning he's hopped on his race bike. So he hasn't had the best preparation here. Really coming to his own, this young Spanish national champion. Pulled off a top 10 at a World Cup last year. National champion, as we said, from Spain. But developing as a World Cup and now a Crankworx racer. We haven't seen him at all at these Crankworx events. So Angel Suarez, former teammate of Aaron Gwynn. How much of that knowledge has he been able to hang on to?
And that's got to be some pretty valuable experience, being a teammate from Aaron Gwynn in his past. We'll be able to apply that today. It's not going to be enough for him. 6.4 as he enters the final section. And we know George Brannigan was flawless. We've now seen footage of him through this final section. Angel Suarez definitely not going to find 6.4 here.
So very clean from Angel Suarez, holding some nice tight lines, but you need to be a little bit more aggressive on this track to take down someone like George Brannigan. So 15th position for him.
So we just keep realizing how good this run was from George Brannigan. Let's talk to him again. Let's send it down to Michaela Gatto.
Thanks, Cam. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have noticed this little tidbit, but down here in the dust, George Brannigan and Bernard Kerr, number 1 and 2 spots right now, are both on 29ers for the first time. So that's something to think about in this course where it's steep, there's big holes, it's really rough. These guys are on 29ers, first race ever testing these bikes out. I don't know, maybe it's the advantage.
Yes, thank you, Michaela. Well, exciting rider on course right now, Mick Hanna, brother of our winner in the women's category, Tracy Hanna, and always a showman on this course. He's been on the podium countless times.
Mick Hanna running low there. So Mick Hanna uncharacteristically making a mistake. Normally a very clean rider. He's calculated. So I'm glad Michaela brought up the wheel sizes. I was going to speak about this as soon as Mick dropped. So we spoke about Bernard Kerr, his first time on a 29. He's had some time in the off-season. What Mick Hanna has done, has opted for 29-inch wheel in the front, and get this, Cam, a 27.5-inch in the back. No kidding. And he's not going to be the only one. There are going to be 2 more riders, namely Finn Isles and Loic Bruni, that are opting to test this option under a race condition here in Rotorua.
Well, makes all the sense in the world. Look at motorcycles. They've been around for a whole lot longer than downhill bikes. They got a bigger front wheel than rear wheel. It makes sense. You get over those obstacles with your front wheel first. Might as well be efficient. We got the maneuverability of the smaller wheel in the back. Let's see if it works for Mick. 7.9 back.
To be expected. We saw him drift out on one of those new loose sections, so you're going to lose so much time. He basically made a mistake at the start of a long flat section. That is the biggest no-no in downhill. You want to carry as much speed as you can, obviously, into a flat section.
That was a huge bobble up top. 7.9 back at the split. Unfortunately, Mick Hanna is not going to make it 3 second places in a row. He's been in second the last 2 years. Not able to get on the podium like his sister did earlier, but we'll look forward to the rest of the season. Always a fan favorite out there. But George Brannigan, congratulated by Mick Hanna here. Dodges another bullet, but right now this is going to be a tough one. Finn Isles, the young gun, the ripper, climbing the ladder right now. All the hunger in the world inside that helmet.
Yeah, like you say, climbing the ladder and doing it quickly. This is only his 2nd year elite. 3rd here last year. He's already notched up a World Cup podium. He's already notched up a Crankworx win. Oh my goodness, running deep there. So this is another rider. There's not only 2 options in downhill at the moment. Not only 29er or only 27.5. How about both? So Finn Isles, Loic Bruni have been testing this extensively. That's a new prototype bike. Wow!
It's so aggressive.
And that's what you can do. You've got the smaller wheel in the back. So you've kind of got the monster truck ability of the front wheel like you mentioned, Cam. And then the back one, you're able to flick the back around. So that's what some of these riders are opting for. And a rider like Finn Isles, he's not the tallest rider. He's not the biggest man on a bike. So the problem with a 29-inch wheel, especially in the back, you end up buzzing your backside. So, I mean, that's dangerous, and it saps time and energy from the wheel.
Well, it's just that balance. He's close, only a ½ second back. Finn Isles, it's that balance between maneuverability and efficiency, and a rider who's so aggressive like Finn Isles, he needs that maneuverability. Look at this.
So pushing hard, what can Finn do? Look how fast he's going, holding that high line.
Come on,
that's
Finn.
Uncanny. Finn flying to the finish. He needs to get there. 252, 250.
He's
done it.
Through the finish line in first place. Canada's Finn Isles putting .28 on George Brannigan on that bike with a 29 in the front, 27.5 in the back. Well, if that's an experiment, I think we have some pretty good results for you.
That we do, man. So Finn Isles kicks out George Brannigan from that hot seat. Look how much pace he was carrying on that high line, Cam. So Finn Isles on the prototype, and then also mixing it up on the wheel sides. Look at that, hopping to that high line. That was aggression, calculated aggression by Finn Isles in the 2nd year elite.
I could watch that slow-mo replay all day, but we don't have all day because Dean Lucas is dropping in.
Dean Lucas from Australia. New team, new bike. He's joined the Factory Scott Racing. They're on a new bike. They're also prototyping a 29er here. So Brendan Faircloth was excited to put that wheel to the ground here. It wasn't to be. But Dean Lucas, only 1 second back. There's still a lot of track to go here, Cam.
Well, you see, at race pace right now, if you're going to get into that hot seat, you're going to be flat landing things. You saw Finn Isles flat land that step down to the road. You see Dean Lucas doing it as well. Basically pushing the boundaries of max speed on this Rotorua downhill course.
Yeah, so I've been able to chat to Dean. He's really happy with the bike. He's amazed how light it is. It pedals really well. But what's new to him is basically everything on that bike. He's changed suspensions, he's changed frame, he's changed wheels. What isn't new to him is the tires, which is great. I mean, that's your biggest contact point to the ground. So that's going to make him feel comfortable straight out the bat. Okay, so he's maintained that. He's still only a second back. That is something you can make up in these lower slopes. Holding that tight line there. He needs to carry on pushing. We saw how fast Finn was down the lowest slopes of Rotorua downhill here.
Look at those.
He's clean, guys. Can he keep pushing to the finish? Dean Lucas on a new team, on a new bike here.
Wow, Dean Lucas through the finish line, sliding into 4th place, but Finn Isles enjoying every minute of sitting in that hot seat. How long will he stay there? Let's hear what he has to say, Michaela.
All right, I'm just chasing him. He's just congratulating his buddy here. First race back this season, you looked like you were absolutely riding on the edge, drifting around corners on the new bike. How does it feel?
Pretty good, actually. I made a few stupid mistakes, just carrying too much speed into sections, but new bike was sick. Felt good. Good to be back in the race.
Perfect. Well, I mean, regardless of mistakes, I'd say you did pretty well.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. You know, it's always hard coming back after a winter, but I feel like I did a good job that time.
Yeah, you slayed it. Congrats.
Thank you.
Well, huge ride. Thank you, Michaela. Huge ride for Finn Isles right there. He's got 5 more riders to watch come down this hill. He wants to take the lead. He's going to have to sit through all those, but he mentioned coming into sections too fast. I think that replay was indicative of that.
Yeah, safe to say, Cam, and there as well, you see that. So he was trying to pre-hop into the backside, but he carried so much pace, he overjumped that. So Finn Isles, he maybe wants to do a little bit more fast practice next time, but the challenge with Crankworx, there's no qualifying run. So you do a lot of practice, and then you lay it all on the line in your race run, and sometimes that's what happened. But he would manage to hang on to it. That is a cracking time by Finn Isles.
Well, Finn Isles, the man to beat, but the next opponent here to try to threaten that time, Connor Fearon from Australia, no stranger to the dust. He's going to put on a show.
He's also opted for the 29er. Last year, it was a lot of back and forth by Connor Fearon. I think that's just a difficult place to be when you're doubting which wheel size to ride. But it seems like he's on the 29er. He says he's going to give it a go for the season. So Connor Fearon, always exciting to watch on the flat pedals, like you see him just hanging it loose there.
Well, we have a very aggressive rider sitting in the hot seat right now, and Connor Fearon also known for his aggression on the bike. It seems that approach is the way to win here at Rotorua downhill on this track.
What's impressive though, for being so aggressive, for being on flats, for hanging it out, he has incredibly consistent race results. Obviously fast, but I mean, he's got multiple top 10s. He's on the podium a bunch. He doesn't make that many mistakes, touch wood, in his race run conditions. So Connor Fearon, flat pedal thunder from Australia. Not many left on the downhill circuit opting for flat pedal. Aboard that 29er equipped Kona. Holding inside lines. That's what you can do when you're on flats. You've got to go for some of those inside lines, because if you come unstuck, you just drop a foot. Wow, he's carrying huge pace here on that high line.
Oh, this could be close here, down to the wire. Not going to beat the time of Finn Isles, but where will he sit in the leaderboard? 2.78 back, sliding into 5th place.
So still a run from Connor, probably hoping for a little bit more. Connor Fearon slots into 5th position behind Finn Isles, who's got our current hot seat position.
So looking smooth, maybe not as on the edge of control as Finn Isles, but let's take a look back. Where do you think he may have lost some speed?
Well, I think what's happening with Connor is he is getting a lot of those consistent results. And a few years back, he would have a few breakout results, podiums, things at World Cups. So he's learned consistency, and he's just been a little bit too conservative for his riding style. I think he can push it a little bit harder because he's got the skill set to get away with a little bit. Kind of like Finn Isles. You could see he was pushing a little bit harder, making some mistakes. You didn't see any mistakes from Connor Ferrier there, so potentially just a little bit clean, but it is early season. He can go back to the drawing board, say, okay, I had a clean run, I just got to push it a little bit more. Let's maybe make a few mistakes.
Put a few more chips on the table. You saw Finn Isles
exactly that.
pretty much go all in on that run. So exciting to watch, and it really paid off for him. Sitting in that hot seat with only 4 riders left to go. Walk me through this leaderboard.
Well, there you have it. Only in his second year elite, Finn Isles from Canada. George Brannigan back with a bang after he got banged up last year. Sorry, guys. Getting a bit excited here for all the riders still to drop here.
Yeah, and one of them is the New Zealand national champion. He just won that about a week ago right here in Rotorua, Brooke McDonald.
Brooke McDonald, some guys wrote this man off. But last year, new team, new motivation, a resurgence of his career. He came out swinging, qualified fastest at the first World Cup. Brooke McDonald, so exciting to watch. If a man can challenge the time, it might be this man, Brooke McDonald. Yes, he's in touch. He's only 0.82 back. I saw him in practice. This man is carrying great pace.
Well, you see that shot. That was one of the spots where Finn mentioned he had a bit of a mistake coming into a section too fast. Brooke was precise right there, and the split was before that section, so potentially already earning some speed on Finn here.
Exactly that. He's carrying good speed where Finn made that mistake. Brooke McDonald, confident, coming off a great 2018 season, all things considered, after a bit of a lackluster few years. The 2019 national champion from New Zealand. He just won that title.
It's great to see him back on form. Oh, he's 0.31 up.
He's done it, Cam, just like you said. He was able to carry pace, and that's, he has to opt for those wide lines. That's a new line. That is a new line from Brooke McDonald. So he's riding all the wide lines.
Brilliant line choice from Brooke McDonald. Will it be enough? He was up at the split.
Pushing hard to the finish here, Cam. Using all the wide lines, carrying huge pace. He's done it!
By 900ths of a second, the crowd goes wild for Brooke McDonald.
So that is pure aggression versus pure precision by Finn Isles.
Oh, I love
Brooke
it.
McDonald. I had a chat to him. He said, you know what? Needles, I just want to get this season going. Last year was great, but I've got way more in me.
Such an exciting run. Let's send it down to Michaela.
All right, I think Brooke's still trying to catch his breath here, but you just moved into the top spot.
Yeah, pretty stoked. It's always pretty hard to lay down one run and make it count. Normally has seeding, so yeah, it's quite a fine line, and yeah, I had a good run, so I'm stoked.
And the boys up in the booth were talking about that crazy line choice that you took down here at the bottom. Tell us a little bit about that.
What, the up high?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just been running that all week, and felt comfortable on it, and yeah, just was good.
Well, it was good enough for current top spot, so congratulations on that.
Thanks, Michaela.
Yes, thank you, Michaela. You know what? Such a smart line choice. When he enters that section, he was able to enter outside on that left-hand berm and just rocket ship, carry all that speed high and pretty much straight line it. You know, it's interesting to try to analyze if that was faster than what Finn did, because he was up by a little bit more than that before that section, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it's what we spoke about in the race school. Depends on the riding style. What are you confident doing? We know Brooke, he just buries those heels into the ground and goes for the outside lines and tries to carry as much pace as he can, instead of saying, okay, maybe break up, go inside, drift a little bit shorter distance. So he says, you know what? I know my riding style. I can hang it out. So I'm just going wide lines.
It's a really good
Don't tell me
point.
if it's faster or slower depending on inside. That's where I'm going.
Play toward your strengths, feel good, look good, save time. But look at this. Speaking of time, Laurie Greenland on course right now in the green by 3/4 of a second.
So his teammate, he is up, holding that tight line. Wow, running a little bit wide over those rocks. So Laurie Green spends a lot of time in New Zealand.
Oh,
a little
good
bit of
save.
a mistake before a long section here. It's going to cost him some time. So he's won a national DH here in New Zealand already. So he's done a little bit of prep. So it's not the first time under race conditions, which will serve into his strengths here. So Laurie Greenland, same team as Brooke McDonald, the youngster. When it gets, I was just saying, this guy gets so rowdy. He's had runs at Val de Sol, almost like Danny Hart. It's great. So he has lost some time. So that's where you see it's just too aggressive, making too many mistakes. You can see him. I think he's trying to reel it in a little bit here. Laurie Greenland, he was up at the first split. He's bled a bit of time here. Can he pull any of it back? Opting for the same line as Brooke here on the lower sludder section.
Laurie Greenland, teammate to the hot seat. Occupant right now, Brooke McDonald, not going to do it. He's back by 2.12. So Laurie Greenland somehow able to hold on after almost endoing off of that drop. Let's take a look back at how rowdy that run was right there. I mean, we got to celebrate the fact that Laurie Greenland was able to save that. There was a couple near misses there.
So he's just missed his braking point there. Unfortunately, and the back wheel is kicked off the top of that bridge. Great save by Laurie, but you can see that mistake he made higher up in that left turn. We dropped the foot. There was a huge straight. He's got to do the hip jump, then the long and low, and he's just lost too much momentum there. But Laurie Greenland, Brooke McDonald, they're on new tires this year. So it's nice to get some races under your belt on the new rubber. Looking like it's paying off, the switch.
Well, you know Laurie Greenland's been practicing with Brooke McDonald all week, so he knows how fast he has to go if his teammate gets a good run, which he did. So he was hanging it all out right there.
Yeah, and that's a great tactic, Cam. If you don't have qualifying, there's no way to gauge your pace. So you can go do your own run, which I think is a great idea. Say yesterday, do a hot run, put a stopwatch on your bike. But the problem is you've got nothing to compare to. At some of the other races, that's what makes Crankworx unique, and it's a unique skill set to be able to pull off.
Well, Brooke McDonald, still a few riders left to go who have massive opportunities to knock him out of that hot seat. One of them is in the gate right now. Look at this with those rainbow stripes. Out of France,
yeah, world famous for being world champion 2 times, but I think maybe even more famous for landing in the pond here 2 years ago.
Classic
That's my
footage.
biggest claim to fame. Yeah, I've got the footage of it. But in all serious, this is your reigning world champion. He's won here twice before. Oh no!
Oh!
And it's not gonna be again though. Oh,
Wow.
that is an unfortunate flat. So Loic Bruni. Oh no, I hope he knows he's on camera. That will be so frustrating. So Loic Bruni in those rainbow stripes.
Do you have a pump maybe?
Well, he's asking for a pump. He clearly is just loving riding at the moment because he still wants to ride to the bottom. Shame. That's devastating, guys. So much frustration coming out there. Yeah, so we're hearing from the broadcast team that was French for I've got a flat tire and I'm a little bit frustrated.
Yeah!
Oh, Loic Bruni, that is devastating. So, Brooke McDonald, he is guaranteed a top 2 finish. So Loic Bruni, as we said, was looking to win for a 3rd time. He told me how focused he was coming in. He said, you know what, last year I wasn't as focused as I needed to be, and it showed. But this year I really wanted to go for a win.
Well, this is what Brooke McDonald did to find himself in that hot seat right there. A flawless run with so much aggression, definitely putting the right amount of chips on the table. Take a look.
Yeah, so carrying a lot of speed there, doing some hop into backside. This is where he excelled. Unique. He just decided to go for all the outsides, like I said, bearing those heels, hands off the brakes, and there you have it, our current hot seat, Brooke McDonald, with only 1 rider still to go, Sam Blenkinsop.
So all eyes on that man, Brooke McDonald, right here. And up next, this is going to be a massive hurdle for Brooke McDonald if he wants to take that win, because the next rider to drop is the man who was the king of Crankworx last year. He won this race last year. He had this to say. Crankworx always has the best tracks, he says, and the crowd's always awesome. You heard how loud that crowd was when Brooke McDonald came into that final straightaway with a unique line. They just blew up with excitement, and you know they're going to have that same amount of enthusiasm for this next rider. The only rider with the chance to knock Brooke McDonald off of that hot seat. So we're going to have a guaranteed Kiwi winner here, and I can guarantee you the crowd is going to be incredibly loud.
And Finn Isles will also have a guaranteed podium, so that is a great way to start the season. Will it be silver? Will it be bronze? Brooke McDonald anxiously waiting there in the hot seat after a great run.
So Sam Blenkinsop, last year's king of Crankworx, dropping in right now, trying to make it back-to-back wins 2 years in a row on this course. Can he do it?
Sam Blenkinsop almost looks like he's on a fixie. The amount of pedal strokes he gets in the air. It's like, hey man, are you on a fixie here? So Sam Blenkinsop coming to the first split. Looks like he may be down. Sam Blenkinsop is down 2.79. Oh no, that's not going to be enough to withstand Brooke McDonald's charge on this track. Can he reel any of it back though?
You know what? It would be interesting here. He's taking different lines, and think about the fact that Brooke McDonald took a different line than anybody down at the bottom, and we're not sure if that means it's faster or it just works for him.
Yeah, Blenkinsop is extremely powerful on the pedals, and like we said, he's pedaling everywhere. Can he carry pace here into this flat section and pull back some time on Brooke McDonald? Anxiously sitting in that hot seat. You see him on the screen there on the right. Sam Blenkinsop, our reigning winner of the Rotorua downhill. He also won the Redwoods downhill, so he had a great start to last year's season. Oh, he's bleeding more time. 4 seconds back now. Brooke McDonald, he can breathe another sigh of relief there. It's looking good for Brooke McDonald. Blenkinsop though, always loose, always exciting to watch. Oh, pedaling in the air as we predicted. Sam Blenkinsop.
Well, it's not going to be 2 years in a row here on this downhill racetrack in Rotorua for Sam Blenkinsop, but it will be 2 years in a row that a Kiwi has been on the top step of the podium in the Crankworx Rotorua downhill presented by the professionals. Brooke McDonald taking the win.
So Brooke McDonald, calm in celebration there, respectful to Sam Blenkinsop.
Well, a great couple weeks for that man, Brooke McDonald. He took the New Zealand National Championship. He wins today. Let's hear from him, Michaela.
Okay, so you won national champs last weekend, and now you've just won again today. What are you eating? What's going on?
I don't know. I guess I had a good off season, lots of training. Not so much racing, but a lot of time on the downhill bike, and yeah, I just feel like I prepared well for this season, and obviously with that win last weekend and continuing into this weekend, I just felt like I had good confidence and really felt good on this track.
And before you were mentioning that there's no seating time or qualifications here, do you find that gives you a little extra motivation, kind of lights a fire behind you for race run?
I don't know, it's kind of hard because you want to push and then you kind of don't because, you know, if you throw it away then it's done and you don't have another chance. But I guess it's sort of similar to World Champs. You have one run and it's sort of all or nothing. So, I mean, I can compare this to a World Champs run.
Well, I think you dealt really well with that kind of pressure today because whatever you're doing, it seems to work. So congratulations on the win today.
Thanks, Michaela. I'm stoked.
Thank you, Michaela. Great to see Brooke McDonald. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the show. He had some struggles. He was really climbing the ladder, getting some great results, and then he had injuries, team changes, but he really is kind of stepping into the form of his career right now.
Yeah, the resurgence of Brooke McDonald. He's on top of his game right now. Great run from Finn Isles there in second, only in his second-year elite, but George Brannigan as well. Let's not forget about him. Coming off a whole injury-stricken year in 2018, starting 2019 as probably as good as he would have hoped for.
Well, a huge day, a huge 2 weeks for Brooke McDonald right here. We will continue to digest these results. We'll be back in a minute. Don't go away.
If these lands could speak, what would they say? They would invite you in to share this extraordinary part of the world. Because what you'll find down here, what you'll discover, is that you're welcome here.
For over 100 years, Professionals Real Estate Rotorua have been helping people buy and sell property in our beautiful city. Make your real estate and mountain biking dreams a reality with Rotorua's #1 team.
Whistler Mountain Bike Park. Ride now, sleep later. Well, what an amazing race here. The Crankworx Rotorua downhill presented by the professionals. Brooke McDonald taking the win, which was the battle. But we got to update you on the war that is the King of Crankworx overall title hunt. Bas van Steenbergen staying in the lead, adding a handful of points from this result right now. And Michaela standing by with that King of Crankworx current leader.
Thanks, Cam. Yeah, I'm here with Bass, and you currently have 156 points, still in the lead for King. Tell me what your strategy was today going into the downhill.
I just kind of figured it's not it's obviously physical, but not to the point where it's going to diminish me for pump track. So just trying to do everything that I can get points in. Obviously, race run didn't quite pan out as I hoped, but I don't know, just having fun riding my bike.
Keeping it consistent. And you will be racing pump track tonight, correct?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, should be a good time.
For some reason, I feel like this conversation is echoing perhaps current Queen leader and girlfriend Via Verbeek.
Yeah, she's been killing it. She's ahead on the couples standings. So
yeah. Do you have a thing on your fridge with current point standings?
Yeah, it's push-ups and then current point standings right next to it.
I think that's what we would call hashtag couples goals.
Yeah, sure.
Or hashtag power couple. What do you prefer?
I don't know. It's your call, Michaela.
All right. Well, we're really excited to watch both of you, and congrats for keeping that King leaderboard.
Yeah, thank you.
It's crazy. Thanks, Michaela. It's crazy how many couples there are at Crankworx. Look at him. He's like, let's not talk about this. Can you leave the hashtags out of it?
Yeah, his cheek's about as rosy as his riding shirt.
Oh, you embarrassed Bass, Michaela. Poor Bass. But yeah, you got Austin Warren with Keelani Hines. You'll see both of them, as well as Bas van Steenbergen and Via Verbeek, your current king and queen of Crankworx overall points leaders, tonight in the pump track. You're not going to want to miss that. Under the lights, we'll get that World Championship Series underway. Of course, this being the first stop of the 2019 Crankworx World Tour. You'll see a cast of characters out there, from competitors that you'd see in slopestyle, like Thomas Lemoyne, to downhillers like Bas van Steenbergen, all duking it out together on the hardtails under the lights. About as far away as you can get from the pump track was what we just saw here, the downhill. And Andrew Needling, final thoughts from what we just saw?
Well, what a way to kick off the International Downhill Series, Cam. I mean, here in Rotorua.
Yeah, so we started out with the women. Tracy Hanna taking the win. It's great to see her get a little redemption from how her season started last year with that injury. So she's off to a great start. And then how about the men? I mean, this is the start of the season, like you said. Will we see Brooke McDonald at the next two stops? We can cross our fingers.
Yeah, let's hope so. But I mean, I think it's testament to the preparation we spoke about. We know how hard Tracy Hanna works, and when she's healthy and fit, she's formidable. And Brooke McDonald, I had a sneaky feeling he'd be the man to beat today. I know how well he was riding last year, and he would have been hungrier and hungrier for 2019 to start.
Well, the action just keeps on rolling. Make sure to join us for Pump Track later on. This was the Crankworx Rotorua Downhill presented by the professionals, and it was the absolute perfect way to kick off this overall series here, the Crankworx World Tour. Who will we crown as a downhill overall champion? Will Tracy Hanna do it 2 years in a row? Will Sam Blankenship be able to crawl his way back, or will it be Brooke McDonald's year as he starts out strong? National Championship last weekend, Crankworx title this weekend. Like I say, a whole lot more action coming at you later tonight. The Pump Track Challenge. You're not going to want to miss it. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Cam McCall, alongside Andrew Needling and Michaela Gatto. We'll see you tonight for Pump Track.
Shit. Listen, dude. Struggles, mate.